All right, very good. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. I've only got 15 minutes, although the clock tells me I've got 25. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 10 minutes back. I'm between you and lunch, so let's not spend a lot of time there. Once again, my name is Joseph George. I'm with HP, soon to be Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. On the enterprise side of things, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that HP can be here as a gold sponsor. A lot of stuff happening in the HPC community, and HP has been committed to the HPC community for a long time, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Great discussions on earth sciences today. I was really happy to see a lot of that, and so I'm really anxious to hear what the other sessions are going to be on, and some of the details. I will say my goal here, I've got 15 minutes. I'm going to just do kind of a real brief kind of update on kind of where we're at in terms of what we're doing with HPC, with a number of you in the audience today for the HPC community, what we're doing in development. I'll highlight some of the things that we're doing with Intel. We recently announced a partnership with them in HPC. And then I'm going to spend a majority of my 15 minutes on two new platforms that we've announced. And we'll go a little bit deep into those things and show you some of the technology that we're innovating around. Okay. So a few highlights here. First of all, if you have not heard, one thing that HP has done in our business unit has actually is to develop a global business unit around HPC and big data. You've heard it come up a number of times today, the convergence of big data and HPC. I've heard a lot of the users here today talk about things like object storage at scale and how analytics are important. We recognize the same thing, so what we've done is actually taken our server division and carved out a portion focused just on HPC and big data, and including solutions around some of the verticals that you're hearing today. Along with the solutions that we're building out, continuing to see a lot of you all and our customer base adopting our PerLiant DL rack and tower servers, as well as our blades in terms of HPC use cases. But a lot of innovation happening around the Apollo platform in particular. If you've heard of the SL line, SL 4500, all of those have transitioned to kind of the Apollo branding. So if you've seen seen Apollo out there, that's what that is. It's the new versions of SL, the Gen 9 versions of SL. And you're seeing a lot of very HPC-focused platforms with the Apollo 6000, the Apollo 2000, and we'll spend some time talking about the Apollo 2000 today. As well as very purpose-built platforms for big data and storage, server-based storage, which is the Apollo 4000. And we'll talk about one of the newer innovations in the Apollo 4000 line. Continuing to win with our customers, a number of that are in the audience. CipherNet, which is now Poland's largest supercomputing site, 1.68 petaflops in terms of its capacity. RTL2, a German television station that is trying to get into streaming media. Transfer times originally of 65 to 70 minutes, getting down to about 6.5 minutes, so 10x improvement using a lot of these technologies and our partnership with Scality in the object storage space. A lot happening in terms of serving our customers, which is really ultimately what we're about. And the Intel Alliance, glad to see Intel here as well. One of our co-sponsors here. We announced in July at Frankfurt ISC this creation of an engineering collaboration with Intel. We'll go into some detail here, but it's progressing well. A lot is happening in terms of engineering teams meeting weekly to collaborate on a lot of Intel and HP technologies to serve our customers. You're seeing a lot coming from HP right now about the data space in terms of storing data in a scalable manner, object storage, the Lustre file system, analytics in terms of like Hadoop and other analytics technologies. And then that translating not just from commercial entities, but to the open source community today. HP, as recently as the last OpenStack release, continues to be the #1 contributor to the OpenStack project. And that's something that we take very important. But we're also extending that into other parts of the open source community. In addition to funding with our dollars, we're also having our software developers in the server divisions actually contribute to the Hadoop project, We most recently contributed to the Yarn Labels project, which allows us to be able to label clusters, to be able to allocate jobs into those clusters using a number of our tools, or to be using open source projects. Cloudera and Hortonworks actively using that in their products today. And I'll be talking about an architecture, an asymmetric architecture that we're spearheading in the Hadoop community a little bit more tomorrow. But it's something that HP and our developer teams have actually spearheaded and starting to break some of these long-held notions of how in a Hadoop cluster you have to have storage and compute in one node. We're actually challenging a lot of those assumptions right now and looking at other assumptions like the one-to-one node to spindle ratio. You know, with the new technology that's available, how important and how critical are those things? And then, you know, a lot of you have heard about the machine. We are at a place right now where we're actually doing some co-roadmap development. How can we start bringing in some of those technology and those features into our roadmap and start delivering those out to the market? So a lot of interesting things happening there. Very briefly on the Intel HP Alliance on HPC. This is something that we've announced in terms of our, our partnership with Intel. We've actually, I won't go through some of the details. The high level of it is that we have decided to look at specific Intel technologies, Xeon Phi, OmniPath, and specific technologies within HP, the Apollo platform in particular, and figuring out how we can service particular vertical use cases, right? How do we go to the oil and gas community and service them in terms of seismic processing and rig monitoring? How do we go to the financial communities and look at high-frequency trading and fraud detection? How do we go to the life sciences communities and start looking at things like genomics and how we help them solve actual problems rather than just saying, we have a technology that you can use? How do we start going up the stack and start providing them some actual vertical use case-oriented solutions going extremely well? A lot of key industry engagements with some of the bigger players in these particular segments. Our staff is actually growing considerably since July, our announcement. And then, as I said, our engineering teams are actually collaborating on a regular basis. I was fortunate to meet a number of the engineers from Intel that are here that we've been working with remotely on the phone and virtually, meeting face to face. So a lot of really good innovation happening there. We hope that in Austin we'll actually have a number of these things to actually talk about. Okay. All right, now I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about two particular platforms, and that'll be the end of my time. The Apollo 2000, how many here are familiar maybe with the SL 2500? It's been the platform that we've had in market for a while. Again, as we transition to the next generation, the Apollo 2000 is the follow-on to that. It is, for a lot of our HPC customers who have used a lot of very HPC design-type solutions that are looking for more standard form factors, this is actually fitting very well for them. It's a 2U server, so very familiar in form factor in your data centers, but it's got the ability to actually have 4 compute nodes within that 2U space. And now in this particular model, we have both the large form factor drive and a small form factor drive. But what we're excited about is that we also have a configuration where you can take the 24 the 24 small form factor drives, and you're able to map them to those nodes from 0 to 24 for each one of those nodes there. In the first 2 configs that are listed up there, there is a fixed drive mapping, but in the 2800 we have an expander that allows you to put one node in there and actually have all 24 drives. If you want to do 7 to 1 and whatever the 24 drive allocation is for the other, you have that flexibility now in this particular platform. I will say that it is one that our HPC customer base is gravitating to frequently right now, just because it looks a lot like what their standard general purpose servers look like. If they are in a particular data center that has certain rack densities, certain rack depths, this works extremely well, but lets you get the node density that they're looking for. So something that we just announced this summer, and a lot of our customers are very excited and already starting to use that. My last slide here Again, we are the HPC and big data space, and I think it's a reflection of the community that we've heard from today. We have also implemented taken to market a new storage-based server. Again, same sort of thing, standard height, 2U, standard depth, a standard rack, but actually going from what is normal capacity, the 15, 16 large form factor drive configuration, and essentially doubling that. In this particular platform, you can actually include 28 large form factor drives in 2U in that 1 meter depth, or up to 50 small form factor drives. And you can see how the configuration works there. It's a very cool thing to see firsthand. It actually has a drive cage up front with the 12 large or the 24 small, and you actually can slide that drive cage out, and right behind it is another drive cage essentially that's got the other 24, the other 12, and there also is a rear drive cage that you can get the extra to get there. And our view here is there's a lot of customers that actually really love our DL380 product and that are leveraging it. But when they need use cases that require this kind of storage capacity, wanted an offering for them as well. For the most part, is designed almost like a DL380 from our portfolio, a very standard rack offering. But essentially, we are able to just do a little bit more tooling on the engineering side, and we're able to provide the capabilities to expand that storage. Again, this is another one that our customers who have got a lot of standard configurations in their data centers, very excited about right now. Both of these are available today. These are not futures. These are things that you can actually order today if you're interested. We've got a variety of HP people that are here today to actually talk through these things. And this is kind of just a very brief sampling of some of the things that we're trying to do to enable the HPC community. The Apollo 6000 today, a very popular platform, very HPC oriented, using air cooling, and some of the biggest deals that we do today in the top 500 and top 100 customer set involve our Apollo 8000, right? That's, for example, like Cyphernet is using to actually manage the Poland infrastructure to help a lot of their scientific community do the research they're doing. And they're actually able to leverage the water that they're using in the liquid cool environment for warming up buildings and things like that. So there's a lot of innovation that we're trying to drive. Very excited about what we're already seeing from you. As we start taking this verticals approach, I've got business cards. I would like to hear from you, in one-on-ones. Come by the little table over there and talk to us over there. We are interested in how you are solving the problems that you are solving today. How we're trying to solve a lot of the manufacturing problems, how we're actually trying to solve, finding a cure for cancer. We are interested in participating and collaborating with you, going beyond just a vendor relationship, but a partner relationship. And we'd like to, figure out how we enable other parts of the community that may not have all the resources available. How do we enable them? How do we partner with them so they can help us do these sort of things as well? Okay. And essentially, that's it. I'll just leave you with kind of a last URL if you're interested in learning more. Again, a number of us from HP are here. Thank you for coming and attending this user forums. These are very important. The slide that Earl had shown up earlier of all the different user forums, highly recommend that you be an active participant in that. This is the place where we learn, us as vendors and co-participants in the community. This is where we learn as well. We're learning from each other, so actively recommend that you continue to participate in that. So with that, that's really all that I have. Stayed within my 15 minutes there. Hard for a vendor to do that, but thank you for that time, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
I just have a short question. Will that website continue work, or will it be HPE?
So it will transition over to HPE.com, and most likely the rest of it will be the same. But you'll start seeing that start happening, HPE, with the new Hewlett-Packard Enterprise logo, which we're all very excited about. We're already starting to see some interesting things from how we can use the green rectangle. There's a lot you're going to see that's a little bit different from how we've done HP in the past. Any other non-branding questions? All right, very good. Thank you for your time. Oh, yes.
Hi. I'm actually interested in, and we don't have to, talk about it right now, but any benchmarks you have on Ceph, you know, for different use cases. I mean, obviously, there's object, there's block, et cetera, but I'm assuming for, you know, Hadoop type installations and so forth, you've done some testing. Very interested in that, and we'll talk about it on the panel tomorrow as well. But you know, I'd like to have those discussions with you you know, at some point.
Sure, absolutely. In fact, we are working benchmarks right now. We do have reference architectures on how you build Ceph in this particular space. And like we did partner with Intel on some contributions on non-volatile memory to the Ceph community. We've got some benchmarks on it right now. One of the platforms I didn't talk about here was our Apollo 4510, which essentially is one node with 68 large form factor drives, a great cold storage type solution. And that's really where a lot of our bigger customers are using it for Ceph today. Right now, in terms of when you incorporate the density and the capacity is really where our benchmarks are focused on right now. But in actual I/O and things like that, we're still developing those things. But I'm happy to talk about it.